Cheers, I do buckaroos, and how the heck are you? I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer. For the purposes of this video, anyway, while I'm trying to make sure everything's going good here. Oh, it's not wanting to work for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on here. Says I'm live. Anyway, there we go. Running a little behind. Fix that real quick. There we are. Anyways, I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, and I decided to do two. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to what I have, but sometimes there is. That's one of those there is. I grabbed two whiskeys that I picked up in Kansas City last week, but they're both American single malt whiskeys, but they're both just distinctively different. That's why it's hard to really categorize some. The American single malt really is a broad category. So the first one I have for you is the Gully Town American Single Malt Whiskey from Restless Bears. This one is at 92 proof. This one is 6 years old, it claims. Goodness, but I wonder if they can make that branding just a little smaller on the back there. Good gravy. I believe, let's see. This one uses spent bourbon barrels, I do believe. That's why the color it really is much lighter. There's a 4-year-old that is darker. But this one really looks like looks a lot like an Irish single malt. Now, the other one I have is a Union Horse Rivalist. I've been dying to try this one. It's been out for a while now, but it hasn't made it down to my neck of the woods here. So I had to go up to the Kansas City area to pick it up. It is at 96 proof. They don't really give you any more. Oh, there we go. They got writing's a little bit bigger on this one. Rivalist American Single Malt Whiskey is a small batch artisanal whiskey made from 100% malted barley by Union Horse Distilling, handcrafted from start to finish using the finest Midwest barley in our copper pot still, then aged to perfection in new oak barrels. So that's why it's a little darker. This one uses new oak barrels. I'm going to start with the Gully Town. So I have a bottle of Gully Town here. Oh, I didn't put it over here with me that I've had for a while. So I asked them, and the bottle is different. So they had two versions of the Gully Town up there. So which of these two is like the one I have? And he said neither. So they've kind of gone a different direction. Even though I really love that one Gully Town, that's why I bought both bottles because they were different. And I haven't opened the other one yet. Thought I had it here to show you the bottle, but I do not. The nose is very reminiscent of an Irish single malt. You almost, it's very similar. Subtle yet complex. I get notes of honey. You do get the barrel notes, but they are a little lighter. I poured 1.25 ounces neat into both glasses. I didn't need a large pour. Just wanted to do a little bit with each of them. So it's a little bit sweet initially. Again, it does drink a lot like an Irish single malt, but not quite. But there are some similarities, that's for sure. It does remind me of a few without mentioning any names. I'm curious what this whiskey will do in 4 years, the 10-year-old version or even the 15. I wanted to buy their Sons of Erin 15-year-old Irish whiskey, but they were out of it. I was kind of bummed about that, but they had these that I didn't expect, so it all evened out. It all evened out, man. So you do get a nice mix of spice in the finish with this one. And you'll probably feel some cinnamon. You might feel some allspice as well. Mm. A lot of vanilla. I get an awful lot of vanilla from this one, and there are just a lot of notes that are very reminiscent of an Irish single malt. Yes, I picked up a glass there, as you can see, the Restless Spirits glass. Why didn't you get the Glencairn, Tom? They did have one. I bought this because, quite frankly, I do like the Glencairn, and I have a couple, three, four. I do have some, but I don't know. Sometimes I like the unpretentiousness of just a whiskey glass. Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice. Again, it starts out rather sweet. You round the middle, and you get these nice. You might find some fruit notes in there. That's really between you and your palate. A lot of oak, vanilla in the finish. Nice amount of spice. You're certainly going to find some cinnamon. I find some allspice. Uh, Something else, maybe a little clove as well. Oh man, that's good. That's good, man. I don't care who you are. Anyway, as always, anyone watching, if any questions or comments, put it up there. If you'd like to be part of the video, let me know, and I'll send you a link, typically via Messenger. Again, relaxing here on a Friday. Rather than do a beer whiskey video like I have done in the past, I decided to split them up, do a beer video first, and then do the whiskey video. This stuff is delicious. Oh, mercy. Yeah, we picked this up in the Kansas City area last week. It was a nice little trip, 3 days. Trade bottles and show this one to you. It is the Rivalist Union Horse Distilling. Looking for a prop here. I put that up to set it up a little higher. I don't think I have anything at the moment. I can get there. This one's at 96 proof. You can see it's quite a bit darker than the other one. Almost has a brandy-like color to it. It's got my little funky glass here. I like to change things up a little bit sometimes. Nose on this one is very interesting. Almost has to borrow a beer term, specifically an IPA term, it certainly has a dankness to it on the nose. You do feel those big malted barley notes. Certainly feel a lot of oak as well. Oh man, man, that stuff is insanely good. That is really good, man. But again, like I said, the reason was a lot of whiskeys, a lot of American small batch craft distillers are doing an American single malt but the category is rather broad. In fact, these two whiskeys are not even remotely like each other at all. Yeah, like I said, it kind of depends on what you're looking for. The first one, the first Gully Town, there's another one I haven't opened yet that may be closer to this one, but the first one is really reminds me a lot of an Irish single malt. Very similar body, similar aromas, similar flavors. This is a completely different animal here. It's a little chewier. It's not quite as subtle on the palate as the other one. Not to say one is better than the other. I'm just giving you the differences. That's all. Both are certainly worth buying. They both run about the same price. Goodness, man, it is something. Man, that is nice. It just comes together in a very interesting way. Uh, wow. The vanilla is more subtle here, but the other flavors are much bigger. You get some spice in the finish. You certainly do feel the oak in a great big way. You might find some dark fruit notes here. Again, this is all malted barley, so it's all affected by the oak just a little bit different. But this is just the malted barley in here. So again, you have a much chewier whiskey than say your typical bourbon. Oh my lord! So I'm picking up some toffee-like notes. I've been trying to decipher a few things here. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of walnut in there, so that's why I've been kind of hesitating to say something. If you could see me thinking there as I'm taking a drink and trying to decipher some flavors. Yeah, it feels like I'm going to say English walnut, not black walnut. It feels more like an English walnut. I mean, I've had whiskeys where I picked up hazelnut notes, which is unusual. I even had one a while back picked up peanut notes, but I don't know that I've ever felt walnut. That's why I was kind of I needed to take a few drinks before I said what I thought I was. I said what I thought I was tasting. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I swear to goodness, I feel like I'm getting some walnut in there. I mentioned toffee. I also feel like you're getting a little bit of very dark brown sugar because I feel like you get a little molasses note in there. Mm, gosh, it's good. I did use this in a cocktail while we were gone, just to see how it would react. But I got to be honest with you. Yeah, I may have it in a cocktail one more time, or at least try it on the rocks maybe one more time as well. But it's a neat whiskey. I mean, it's a neat drinking whiskey. It's really a whiskey you've got to drink neat. I mean, it's bold enough to accept those other things, right? It's bold enough to make into a Manhattan or an old fashioned or even a version of a whiskey martini, certainly. But these flavors, man, it's a neat drinking whiskey. It is rather complex and should be given the respect it deserves. It's absolutely gorgeous. Oh man, that's why I only allowed an ounce and a quarter pour into each one. Mm. Look at that little bit of lingering sweetness there. So I mentioned dark fruit, but I didn't get specific. The reason for that is I'm still trying to decipher some notes here. Almost feels like I'm picking up. I'm gonna take another drink before I really say something out loud. Almost feels like you might be picking up a little bit of a black cherry note, almost just maybe a bit of a very overripe plum as well. Rather dry in the finish, very oaky dry, again with that little bit of spice that helps pull it all together. Oh, this stuff is gorgeous. Rivalist. I do see. Here's my thing, man. I love Russell Spirits and Union Horse. I don't really like one above the other because they're both doing a little bit different things. And I want to support these guys. You've got whiskey's kind of a strange thing, especially bourbon right now. But you have these very overhyped whiskeys right now getting a lot more money than they deserve to be getting because some people think it makes them look cool to have that particular whiskey on their shelf. I'd rather spend the money to buy from these small craft distillers. I approach whiskey the same way I approach beer. I try to drink as local as humanly possible. And as my wife and I have been learning about wine, I've been trying to do the exact same thing. Yes, there might be some great wines from the big guys. There might be some great international wines, but I don't really care. I want to focus on the small wineries. I want to focus on the small distillers. Yes, certain whiskeys that we all know the names of, that they are good, uh, but quite frankly, they're not better. I mean, there's one in particular that again I don't want to mention the name because they don't need the press from me. That typically sold for about 50 a bottle, but now they're getting upwards of. I mean, I've seen it go for a couple hundred on the secondary market, which is absolutely ridiculous. These whiskeys are about that same regular retail price. I will never buy on the secondary market because I think secondary markets are for posers. Those are for people that want to think they're cool rather than people that really appreciate the whiskey. Search out your small distillers, keep them in business. Go to folks like Restless Spirits, uh, Union Horse. They're making some of the best whiskey on the planet, and if you're not finding them, well, that's on you. Forget about those ones you know. Forget about the allocations. Buy these great whiskeys. They are worth every damn penny. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor, wisdom man. All right, good guys. Watch you.